Welcome back, everybody, to the Derby City Fandom podcast. Today, we are doing another deep dive into a character near and dear to my heart, everybody's favorite Merc with a mouth, Deadpool. It's a good time to be a Deadpool fan with a new film coming out this summer.
July 26th.
July 26th. His, I guess, theatrical interactions with Wolverine. Properly this time instead of the weird Weapon X1 variety, right? So I figured we'll take some time to go into the character's backstory, maybe answer any questions that Jake might have. I feel like he might even be more surprisingly well-versed in this character than I am.
Uh-oh. This episode's doomed if that's the case, Kenny. Hey,
Fair
everybody.
enough.
Jake's here. I'm Jake. I'm here as well. Colin's with us. Was say
Hi.
hi to people, Colin?
What's up?
Yes,
So deep dive on Deadpool, Kenny.
sure.
I thought you were the subject matter expert on all this.
I am, but, I figured you might have done some research yourself.
No, not really.
Fair enough. All right.
We're
So
going to get maximum effort.
Max.
that's a word for it. So
Movie reference.
it is.
I understood that reference. Did you all?
Oh, boy.
So Deadpool first appeared in 1999 in the New Mutants issue 98, and he is the brainchild of Rob Liefeld and Fabian. I can never pronounce his last name,
Don't even try it.
so I won't. And he was introduced kind of primarily as a villain in that particular episode. He was going against the X-Force and the different X-Men at the time. And then he eventually gets his own comic book line in 97, where we're introduced to some more of the backstory, I suppose. So the backstory most people kind of know. He is a Canadian mercenary who was really good at his job, but ends up developing cancer, and he spirals downward very, very hard. So he ends up breaking relations with his girlfriend at the time, and in a last-ditch effort, he is recruited by Project K, which is a secret weapons unit in the Canadian military, which is just a cover for the Project X or Weapon X.
Weapon X.
Weapon X.
Was Wolverine part of the same project?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is where some of the fun there happens. He is given the same healing factor serum that Wolverine gets, but he reacts differently. So while he's going through the whole rigmarole of them ripping him apart with scalpels and stuff, he has a lot of near-death experiences. This is where he meets Lady Death for the first time, Mistress Death.
Mistress Death.
Yes. And
They have a romantic relation.
we'll get into that. That's part of the backstory, or I guess the deep lore. But while he's a part of the Weapon X program, all of the other, trial members have their own little gambling ring going on, which they call the Deadpool. And that is originally how he gets his name.
So the Deadpool in the comic books is based on this Project X.
Yes.
So that kind of breaks from what we see in the movies, where it's his mercenary buddies at the bar.
Yeah, but it's the same idea of
Same concept.
you bet money on who is going to survive the procedure is what they did in the comics. And that's what the Deadpool was. What little they had, they would gamble with, because of course you do.
Yeah.
So naturally they break out, and Deadpool kind of takes that moniker because he's the one that kind of facilitates all of it. Aside from Wolverine, Deadpool really is the other successful recipient that Weapon X had. I guess other than X13, X23, and all of them.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of leads me to my first question, Kenny and Colin, if you want to chime in here. What's his overall relationship with Wolverine? So they both patients at the same time. Was Wolverine already kind of out and about?
Yes.
Because it almost sounded like maybe the serum that they injected Deadpool with originates from Wolverine, or is it kind of the same? Do you have any backstory in regards to the relationship between Deadpool and Wolverine?
It's more or less.
It's a love-hate relationship outside of the program. You don't see them interact until they're outside the program.
Right.
So it's complicated. That is the best way to describe Wade Wilson.
But were they in the program together?
At different times.
Different times. All right.
At that point, Wolverine had already broken out, but the program continued.
Okay. What could go wrong?
A lot, because we see that aside from the healing factor not really curing his cancer, it just kept his healthy cells regenerating at a rate that could counteract the cancer killing him.
But essentially, he's a walking tumor. That's why his skin basically turned into a scrotum.
Yes, as he self-describes himself.
Can anything kill him?
Yes.
Yes.
He can die. There are various things that can kill him. Magic will kill him. Magic, because magic exists. It's Marvel.
Harry Potter. Oh my gosh.
No.
Are they going to combine the two, Colin?
No, they're no.
No.
Stop.
There's muggles. Muggles
Stop.
Stop. That's.
Stop.
But there's also carbonadium.
Is that a foreshadow for a future episode, by the way? I don't know. Sorry, continue on, Kenny.
But there's
Sure.
carbonadium.
It's a what if episode.
Yes. There's carbonadium, which is another just kind of made up magical composite thing that Marvel's made that is able to nullify healing factors, which we see him use to kill Wolverine in a particular comic book line.
He kills Wolverine?
Oh, he kills them all.
Yeah. He kills actually all the Avengers.
Yes, there is a comic book line called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which is volume 1 of the Deadpool Killology.
Interesting. So do you think that's leading up to, based on the little I've seen from the Deadpool 3 trailer, it almost seems like he's just hovering over a reset button. So there's some comic book.
Well, he does that because his other power, so to speak, that he gains from the healing factor is that he breaks the fourth wall. He is aware that he is an entity within a comic book, a video game, whatever piece of media he happens to be in. He is aware. Which is funny because when he breaks the fourth wall in the comics, the people around him will react to him talking to the reader, to the viewer, and they're just like, what? They don't grasp the concept because they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even correct me if I'm wrong, Kenny. He even goes as far as speaking of the fourth wall, he kills all the Marvels and he kills all the people that wrote.
Yeah, he breaks out and
he even
kills all the
threatens
writers.
to kill the reader.
Yes. He says, I will, the final line is, I will find you. And he's staring at you, dead on.
Oh, boy.
So, that's fun to think about.
So taking a step back here a little bit. So we obviously know he has some type of comic book tie or relationship with Wolverine.
Yes.
Now, is there a history with other MCU characters? Based on the... Keep in mind, I've never read the Deadpool comic books, or really that many comic books in general, but based just my knowledge on the movies, obviously he seems ties to the X-Men.
Yes, that's his primary, connection, because while he was also the enemy of the X-Force, he becomes a member of the X-Force.
Yes.
He is, in another, love-hate relationship with Cable.
Yep.
With Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
So he does have
he's everywhere.
With other MCU and even some Avenger characters.
Yes.
He becomes a candidate for the Avengers.
Yes.
So he never actually joins the Avengers?
No.
Does he ever join any team, or is he just strictly a mercenary?
Well, yes, he is the Merc for hire, but you got the X-Force. through the different comic lines, he does become an Avenger in the Astonishing Avenger when there is like some Thanos like Infinity Gauntlet shenanigans where the moral roles of everybody reverses. So then he has to go kill the regular Avengers, and then the Astonishing Avengers are all villains that turn into heroes. Oh. So he ends up teaming up with like Green Goblin and the like. Oh. So that ends up being fun.
So one little note that I made, since we're kind of on that topic.
Sure.
So he obviously becomes a candidate for the Avengers, which was a little awkward because a couple years later he ended up helping a Hydra version of Steve Rogers posing as the real one. In fairness, he didn't know, so his loyalty to Cap got the better of him, essentially. Yeah.
So one of his fun sidekicks is just called Bob, Agent of Hydra.
Yeah.
And he's just a normal guy that Deadpool has more or less bullied into being his sidekick. Because Deadpool, being that he's almost impossible to kill, has the same sort of energy as Doctor Strange in the Dormammu thing, where you can kill him as much as you want, but he just comes back. So eventually you just give up and do what he wants, because that's the easiest way to get rid of him.
Yeah.
So this Bob is basically the Peter from X-Force in the movie. The normal, the normal dude.
Yeah. But it's funny because Bob ends up inspiring a fun future gang in the 2099 Marvel run of stuff. Because one of the other side things with being able to constantly regenerate is that you don't technically age. So there's been cases where Deadpool has survived 800 years locked in a freezer, or just 800 years out and about, and he meets like the future X-Force like 800 years in the future. So there's some fun there, right? His regenerative abilities have given him the ability to interact with people like Rogue, who has the unfortunate ability of like draining people's energy and like nearly killing them just by touching them.
Yep.
So she is
honestly
thrilled that she can't kill Deadpool, because it's like the first interactions he's had like physically with people in a very long time.
Aww.
Not my favorite character, just saying.
Fair. But we also see him interact with like the Queen of the Underworld. Mm-hmm. We've seen her interact with Mistress Death, and the weird interactions that he has with Thanos as a result. So the idea behind his relationship with Death is that they're infatuated with each other because they can never truly be together. He can't die, and thus Death can't have him. Right? Mm-hmm. So there's a longing there, which drives Thanos up a wall.
A lot of jealousy, really.
Yes, to the point where he curses Deadpool with even more immortality than he already had, just to make sure. And then he has to go through several lengths to remove the extra layer of immortality through like magical artifact means.
You almost kind of feel bad for him.
You kind of do, but then he's just so funny that you end up loving him.
Yeah. What are the other MCU characters? I guess the quote-unquote good guys. How do they view him? Is he considered good?
He is considered like the anti-hero.
Anti-hero.
So he is definitely for hire. So you see instances where Captain America hires him to help out a handful of times. And because he does show like some heroism and like heroic like qualities, he does get offered opportunities to join the Avengers, basically.
Does he always turn them down, I guess?
It just depends on how the story goes. Usually
doesn't pan out.
Usually it doesn't pan out because everybody kind of thinks he's a dick. Well, he is.
Yeah. They're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
I would imagine.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so one thing we often see from Deadpool is that he interacts with other versions of himself very often. Because he breaks the fourth wall, he is aware that other Deadpools exist.
I didn't think about that. A whole multiverse of Deadpools.
Yes. So
Can I introduce one of them?
Sure. I wonder which one, because I have like a list of them.
So my favorite one, obviously in the Guardians of the Galaxy, we're introduced to Howard Duck, right?
Yes.
Well, one of them is in fact Deadpool the Duck.
Yes.
Deadpool the Duck.
And Kenny, insert picture right here because
Sure.
I just love the way Deadpool the Duck looks, man. He honestly cracks me the fuck up.
Oh, God, you're putting editor me to work. All right. Well, the other ones that I enjoy, you have Headpool, which is the Marvel Zombies version of Deadpool, where he gets in a fight with the Silver Surfer and loses, but his zombified head is removed. The fun thing about the zombie head is that it's still like alive because, you know, it's Deadpool. Even Deadpool is not immune to the zombie virus in this particular case. That's how they wrote that storyline. But this head is able to move around with a propeller beanie that he wears on his head. So you just see this little zombified head just fly around.
Does that remind you of any particular character saved from Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Right?
Anyway, moving on.
So you often see Headpool, as he is called, appearing in other spots, just like trapped in like a cage or a jar or something, so he can't get all like bitey with people and spread the virus. You also have Dogpool, Champion Pool, Squirrel Pool, Lady Deadpool, just as examples of other Deadpools. And you can probably imagine that Squirrel Pool is just a squirrel in a Deadpool suit with the same abilities. Same can go for Dogpool. Champion Pool is a version of Deadpool that is also half champion of the universe. Another very obscure Marvel character from the 80s that no one's heard about. Deadpool also has a couple of kids.
A daughter.
A daughter.
Ellie?
I believe so. I don't have that one written down.
I believe there's a daughter named Ellie.
There's also one called Warda.
She, I believe, if I'm correct on this particular child, she ends up going into S.H.I.E.L.D., right?
Yes, that is correct.
Then yes, that's Ellie.
Then you have one that he had between the Queen of the Underworld, Sheetclaw.
Yep.
Who is like this undead, like succubus kind of character that existed at the same time that Dracula did, and then you have Dracula and Deadpool fighting each other. And they have a very kind of like caring relationship at first, but then they have a falling out when Deadpool starts going more towards the hero side of things instead of the anti-hero side of things. So they end up breaking off that marriage.
Yep.
So the only person that ever has like a good lasting relationship with him is Mistress Death, because they eventually do get together. And then that particular comic, it has multiple endings, one of which Deadpool becomes the king of hell.
Yep.
Because he didn't want to be married to Mistress Death and not have a job. So you see him just sitting on his little throne made out of like skulls and like sinew, and he's in just dapper like red suit. Fantastic. He has a gun in one hand. Death is just sitting in his lap. Very fun.
All I can imagine is that whole scene, but with Deadpool having a baby hand and just like
Oh, the baby.
crashing.
That being said, the movies are good. I do enjoy the Deadpool movies.
The
Yeah,
Deadpool
they're
movies
with
are
Ryan
good,
Reynolds.
It's
but
funny, man.
when he has the baby hand, that's obviously funny. He just says to Al, "This is gonna feel so much bigger in the hand." But then I think my favorite one is when he has the baby legs.
His buddy's like standing up. He's like, oh, the little guy's gonna do it. He's gonna do it.
Yeah. So I guess just in terms of that as well, because he has his healing factor, he gets kind of subjugated to the same like level of like horrendous torture and pain and death inducing stuff that like Wolverine gets induced to. He's been thrown into a couple of suns, been reduced to puddles.
It seems like he has a little more fun than Wolverine, though.
Well, there's a reason for that. So it is thought of that he actually doesn't feel the pain while Wolverine does.
Okay. Yeah, that would explain it.
So that is part of it, is that either through his like mental instability, he just ignores it, or he can't actually feel it. It's not terribly clear.
See, I'm not sure I agree with that, though, because in the movies, when, for example, when he's going fighting up against Colossus, you see his hand snap and break, and then same with the other hand, and then his leg, and he's like, ow, and then whenever he gets shot, he's like, ow. But when you see, like, what's his name? Francis.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he gets hurt, like, it hardly even phases him. So
Yeah, which might just be like a difference in the writing and stuff.
yeah, sure.
Which is why he does die eventually. In Deadpool number 250, he dies because the entire his entire universe basically dies. The one universe they're in collides with another.
616 collides with 1610, right?
Something like that. So he's happy that he's not that he's finally dying, but he's also happy that kind of everybody's dying together, which is kind of macabre,
right?
In a
but
way.
Then that kind of rolls into Secret Wars, right?
I believe so.
I think so. I think that's what happens.
Yeah, I think that is the outcome of his involvement in it.
Right. Interesting. Love it.
Yep. So, as I was saying, he does have a wide array of just appearances. We do see him as a part of the X-Force and the 90s X-Men animated show. We see him interacting with Spider-Man quite often because Spider-Man's also, the other superhero with a mouth on him.
You think we're going to see Spider-Man in the Deadpool 3 movie?
No.
Don't they have a kid? No, not a kid. They have some kind of weird relationship. Spider-Man and Deadpool. They have some kind of...
It's like a mentor-student kind of thing.
What do you mean? What do you mean they have a kid?
I don't know. I feel like I read something. Maybe I misread that somewhere. I don't know.
Maybe.
Forget I said that. Edit that part out.
Nah. Anyways.
Make me look like an asshole.
Oh, Lord.
They have some kind of relationship. I don't remember what it was.
What makes you say that Spider-Man's not going to make an appearance in Deadpool 3?
Because they're
licensing rights.
They're too busy dealing with freaking
Too cheap.
Tobey
Yeah,
Maguire
honestly.
and Andrew Garfield. Is that his name?
Andrew Garfield, yeah.
And Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
That whole universe is
Uh,
a tragedy.
Let's see. There is a particular fun storyline where old man Peter Parker gets his back snapped in half by a lifelike decoy. I forget the exact name. They're LMDs is the shorthand of it. That looks like Deadpool. So then old man Deadpool at the time does a blood transfusion with old man Parker. And the blood transfusion gives Peter extra longevity because of the healing factor. So there's some fun interactions there. Right. Now, because Deadpool also is surprisingly like good-hearted, even if he is kind of an asshole, like you see him interacting with like what are normally villains. One of my favorite storylines is actually in one of the X-Men novels, where you see him interacting with a reincarnated child version of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And he is being like his moral compass, being like, hey man, just because you were evil in a past life, in a past version of you, doesn't mean you're evil now. Mm-hmm. And as Evan Sabanur, as Apocalypse was called in this case, was kind of like going back and forth on the spectrum. Deadpool was like giving him like actually good advice, being like, hey man, don't let what other people say about you actually dictate who you are. Like, you know, you're not your evil megalomaniac self from past life. You are Evan right now. So that ends up being like very like heartwarming.
Yeah.
Like he has like a moment where he's just like, if you ever need me, here's my phone number. Give me a call. We'll talk.
Yeah. That's neat.
Like he has good solid moments like that. Oh gosh. Jake, do you have any other like odd questions that I can potentially answer? Because otherwise I'm going to gush about his other, I guess, accomplishments.
No, only one. Someone was telling me that he has quite the relationship with Thor.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that at all?
Rumor
has that him and Thor have duked it out a couple times.
Oh yeah. Well, aside from the like the Marvel, like him killing everybody in Marvel line of comics, in Deadpool Volume 3, I believe, it is hinted at that Loki might be his father. Oh. So that would make them related. Well, kind of related because, you know, Loki's adopted.
Yeah.
So there's a potential fun family dynamic there.
Ooh.
Good old sociopath, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I condone that.
Mm-hmm. So that ends up getting to some of the gray area of Deadpool, is that him in the comics himself kind of just makes up his own backstory as he needs to. As a person that can break the fourth wall, like none of his backstory is essentially important, and that's how he views it himself as a character. Now we as readers want to know, because of course we do, which is where we get his mercenary background, you know, the Weapon X program and all of that. But he doesn't view it as anything necessary. Like, his brain is so unstable that whatever he's thinking of in the minute is what he cares about.
I can relate.
I am concerned for you.
It's fine. I'm fine.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. I'm fine.
Everything's fine. Any other questions from you gentlemen?
No, I'm kind of hopeful that maybe we'll get some like fun nods in the upcoming movie with all these variant Deadpools. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, the variants get fun.
I'm not holding my breath with it, but I think it has some just like little fun with that. That'd be unique. No, that's about it, man.
Really? Okay. Colin, what about you?
Well, one thing that we forgot to insert into the beginning of this episode.
Sure.
Was the ratings on IMDb for the prior films.
The ratings for the films, of course.
So let's do the first one that came out in 2016. 2016. So IMDb had it at a whopping 8.0 out of 10.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
And Tomatoes had it at 85%.
I remember the
I'm fine
overall like gross income for that first film was staggering because Marvel had like no faith in the film at all, so they gave it like a shit budget.
Well,
Yeah, I read something like the first film. You're right. Marvel had very, very little faith in it. Where at some point Ryan Reynolds actually had to like pay for some of like the directors or some of the writers like salaries or whatever. Because Marvel was like, yeah, we're not going down this road. But he had a lot more confidence in it than.
Yeah.
Hey, good for him.
Like
man.
he
took a risk.
they make jokes about it in the film itself. That's
Yeah.
like, man, this film doesn't have the budget for these explosions going on in the background and stuff.
no, they do not. All right, second Deadpool came out in 2018. What do y'all think the rating for IMDb was?
Probably a bit lower, so I would say a 7.5.
7.8.
7.6.
Oh, nice.
And
Kenny.
Tomatoes had it at actually 1% lower than the first one at 84.
Fair.
So that's
believe it.
interesting.
Yep.
I almost kind of like the second one better.
I'm the other way around, actually.
No, like I like the first one. I'm not knocking it, but I don't know. I kind of really like the second one.
Yeah. So I think Ryan Reynolds does a good job voicing the character. In a lot of the video games, the main person that is accredited for doing the most Deadpool is Nolan North, a very like well-known voice actor, I guess, just in like the gaming sphere of things. So he's recognizable. But the fun that he has with that is that they write Deadpool in the video games where he is constantly talking to both the narrator of the game and another voice in his head. And a lot of times, like the voices are all like clashing against each other.
So Deadpool's a little cuckoo.
Oh, he's very cuckoo, but that's what makes him fun.
Yeah, the voices in his head.
Yeah. Like, he loves and hates his voice actor, which is funny because it's the voice actor, like, shitting on himself, basically.
Which you kind of see that in the movies.
Yeah.
Barely. Anyway, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we can wrap it up here. So, Deadpool is a very interesting character. He breaks the fourth wall wherever he can. He's constantly causing chaos. Might be like the best way to say it. And then when he more or less bumbles his way into being a hero, people are just like, you know what? I think I misunderstood you. And then he immediately does something to prove them wrong.
I just hope he has a happy ending, Kenny.
We'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. Do you think maybe in this one it's pretty much Deadpool's done for? Like, this is the last one. Deadpool dies.
I mean, dies is a strong word for Deadpool,
like,
as we've discussed.
Like, that's the end of the franchise, essentially. Or are they going to make another one
Well,
with another air quotes villain? Or maybe he becomes a villain and everybody fights up against him.
I don't know. See how old Ryan Reynolds is.
Man, he's probably in his late 30s, early 40s.
He is 47.
well, I mean, he's got a couple more films in him, regardless.
I mean, Hugh Jackman's freaking almost 900 years old.
He was married to Scarlett Johansson. Now I'm going tangents.
Yeah, he definitely has an interesting relationship with prior relationships.
Yep,
But now he's with Blake Lively, right?
I believe so.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, you're right.
Before we go down, I guess, too far, that is a short, deep dive of the Deadpool character. If you like what you hear, please follow and subscribe. I'm going to cut this part out for sure because I'm about to cough.
So you can follow us where, Kenny?
So you can follow us and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you can find your podcast streaming services.
Yep.
Any other points, Jake?
No, thanks for listening, everybody.
Appreciate the support.
We'll see you all next time. Peace.